Hello, everyone. Hopefully, you're all having a good evening. So, I know I've stated this in other videos, but every morning when I go into work, I say my morning prayers to God, and I talk to Jesus like if He's sitting right there beside me. And I ask questions, and there are times that I say other things. And today, I was going in and I was compelled to just break down and repent and apologize for the way I acted when I was younger. I mean, I'm talking almost 30 years ago now. At a point in time where I was a young adult and seemed like nothing was going my way, and I screamed and yelled and everything else up to the Lord, saying, just let me live my life, leave me alone. I was blaming God. I was young and dumb. At that point in time, I had only cracked open the Bible to read the interesting bits, in my opinion, which essentially the interesting bits to me was Revelation. That's about all I ever read when I was young. And, because it was, exciting. Then I realized, after I read the entire Bible, which I put it off forever, it wasn't until just this past couple of years that I actually went through and read the entire Bible. And having done that, talk about having my eyes opened in everything that's going on in the world, especially now. So I'll talk about two separate things here. First being is, this morning when I was going in, I broke down and I apologized and I repented for the way I acted when I was young. I said, I'm sorry, I didn't understand. I was young and I was ignorant when it comes to your word. And I thought you were picking on me and everything else in my youth. And I asked to be forgiven of that, because I know it was wrong. I shouldn't have done it. And then I went to work, everything else. I was led to, the first verse I saw today was Matthew 5. So I read through the Beatitudes in the first portion of the Sermon on the Mount, but I'm here now, and I'm just sitting here, I'm like, I feel like I want to talk about stuff that I've seen in the news on the channel, things that we should really be prepared for. Because it could mean a lot. And then I was like, well, maybe I'll talk about, the things I'm seeing right now that are in the news that, people aren't aware of it. I should bring it up, so this way people can become aware of it. And I went to Revelation 6, and I was looking at the second seal in Revelation 6, which is the fiery red horse. And it goes forth and it takes away peace from the world for war. And I was like, I don't know if this is really what I want to be talking about. I mean, the verse I read earlier today, was from the Beatitudes, and it talked about those who bring peace. Well, the kingdom of heaven will be theirs, which is interesting. And it's kind of tying in together as I'm talking about it. I wasn't even thinking about it just 2 seconds ago. But I was like, still had these thoughts on my mind. I was like, what? I'm just going to flip in my Bible to a random verse and see what it states. So I flipped it open and I landed on Jeremiah 31. And I started reading about Jeremiah 31, about the Lord is telling Jeremiah that he is going to bring all of his people, the Israelites, he's going to bring them from the north and from all over the world back to and recreate, as he calls it, I will build you up again, and you, virgin Israel, will be rebuilt. Well, Israel was rebuilt when peace came after World War II. And those people were taken. And I mean, and you read through this verse and everything else as I'm reading through here, and it talks about, sing with joy for Jacob, shout for the foremost of the nations, make your praises heard, and say, Lord, save your people, the remnant of Israel. And see, I will bring them from the land of the north and gather them from the ends of the earth. Among them will be the blind and the lame, the expectant mothers and the women in labor. A great throng will return. This is from all over the world. And then it goes on and it tells everything that the Lord is doing and how he's going to watch over Israel, and it's going to be rejoiceful. And then I get to verse 18, and I'm reading through it, and it states, I have surely heard Ephraim's moaning. You disciplined me like an unruly calf, and I have been disciplined. Restore me, and I will return, because you are the Lord my God. After I strayed, I repented. After I came to understand, I beat my breast. I was ashamed and humiliated, because I bore the disgrace of my youth. I mean, is not Ephraim my dear son, the child in whom I delight? Though I often speak against him, I still remember him. Therefore my heart yearns for him. I have great compassion for him, declares the Lord. And while I'm not Ephraim, it definitely fits the prayer that I was praying about this morning, about how I was ignorant in my youth. I was embarrassed of it. I shouldn't have ever done it. I should have known better. And had I gotten into the Bible when I was much, much younger and actually taken the time to read about it then, I would have been so much better prepared for everything. But I'm glad I did now. I'm glad I got into the Bible and I've read it. And I mean, if you're a first-time reader, the way I did it the first time was I read the New Testament all the way through first. And then I read the Old Testament. Because if you read the Old Testament, it's going to make you wonder, what? Okay, I don't quite understand what it's all saying here, or where's this all going? But when you read the New Testament and you see who Jesus Christ is, then when you're going through the Old Testament, it starts to become extremely clear. 31 continues on, and it talks about how the Lord is going to lead everyone back. That, one, that they need to trust him. And the Lord specifically states that he will make a new covenant with the people of Israel and the people of Judah. And that, the old covenant is no longer. And he says, the days are coming, declares the Lord, when I will make a new covenant with the people of Israel. And he did so when he walked the earth. He gave us everything we needed to know. He says, everyone will know it. And the funny thing is, now I've just thought about this. The funny thing is about this is he states, this is the covenant I will make with the people of Israel. After that time, declares the Lord, I will put my law in their minds and write it on their hearts. I will be their God, and they will be my people. No longer will they teach their neighbor or say to one another, know the Lord, because they will all know me, from the least of them to the greatest, declares the Lord. It goes on to say, I will forgive the wickedness, and I will remember their sins no more. Think about that. Jesus went to the cross as the final sin sacrifice. He defeated sin for all of those of us who follow the Lord. And when he wrote his new covenant on our hearts and put it in our minds, that we are to love God above all things, first and foremost, Jesus Christ should be the first thing on our minds in everything we do. And the second thing is to love our neighbors. It doesn't mean to accept everything our neighbors do. There's a difference. Because love is the truth. It's not sugarcoating a lie. And when you read through the entire Bible, you will see that there is a very, very true set of things where it specifically shows you this is what sin is. And those people who go out and completely just dive into their sins and live their sins like there's no tomorrow, well, one day there won't be a tomorrow, at least not in this existence of ours. And then it's too late. And that brings me, I guess, back full circle to the things that I was originally thinking about talking about. If you're paying attention to the news at all, there's a lot of debate on why certain things would be happening the way they are. If anybody saw it or been paying any attention to Russia, Ukraine, NATO, the United States, or any of that stuff, if you look at the news cycle, Biden, who's on his way out of the presidency, just gave Ukraine permission to use the weapons that the United States has given them to strike as far as they can into Russia. Which Putin specifically stated that if the Ukraine uses either the UK's or the US's weapons to strike into Russia, because of the items that would be required in order to do it, it would be no different than the UK, NATO, or the US attacking Russia. And then when you also look into the news back in September, Russia rewrote their entire nuclear doctrine to cover exactly how they will handle situations if they choose to. Now, we could pray to the Lord that they never choose to. But they've essentially lightened their ability to utilize nuclear weapons. And that's why I was kind of looking at Revelation 6, the fiery horse, the fiery red horse, and war being allowed to be unleashed. Because it says in the end of days, there will be wars and there will be rumors of wars, and those will be the beginning of birth pains. And there will be, well, obviously earthquakes in various places, which obviously there are. Go on USGS earthquake map, you can see all the earthquakes that are happening. The interesting thing is trying to look at information from how many of a certain magnitude on up, the frequency of how much more those are happening. But anyway, so when I was in Revelation and I was reading through some of this, I was on 6, And I had already previously talked about Revelation 7, where I talked about the great multitude and the 144,000 who are the elect. So, but in Revelation, I'm trying to get to it, which is the Revelation 7 talks. So 6 is the seals all the way through the 6th seal. And then it talks about Revelation 7 is the 144,000 of the elect, which are 12,000 people from each of the tribes of Israel that do not include the tribe of Dan. So it ends up going on to talk about the great multitude in white robes, which I'm starting to believe that is the reference to the rapture. Because if the church is not meant or is to be saved from God's wrath, the wrath portion is once the 7th seal, which starts off in Revelation 8, is broken. And that's when the trumpet judgments and the bowl judgments will occur afterwards. That is God's wrath upon the world. And if the church, those people who are Christians, who follow Christ Jesus, if we are not meant for God's wrath, then I'm looking at Revelation 7, verse 9 through verse 17 as the actual rapture of the church. Now people will be like, well, why wouldn't God take the elect? Well, you got to remember, there's a lot of people who are Jewish that do not believe that Jesus Christ is the Messiah. They do not believe that he is God who came in the flesh. But then I took a moment and I just kind of glanced at one of the verses in Revelation 8. It talks about the trumpets and the first trumpet that sounds. The first angel sounded his trumpet, and there came hell and fire mixed with blood, and it was hurled down on the earth. A third of the earth was burned up. A third of the trees were burned up, and all the green grass was burned up. If John is seeing something that's actually happening, and he sees all these items coming through the sky, falling down, that could look like from a distance, hailstones with fire trailing behind them, and all of a sudden you have all these bright explosions that turn to an orangish red color. Is the first trumpet talking about nuclear warfare? I don't know. I don't know, but I do see a lot of things that are going on. And who knows, maybe it's just all bluster. Maybe it isn't time. I have no idea when the time is going to be. I do pay attention to it, though. We are all supposed to watch and be ready. And by being ready, it doesn't mean by knowing when things are going to happen. It's by being ready with our minds and our hearts, fully encompassing Christ Jesus. Being ready with him. So if we are to be taken out before God's wrath comes spreading across this world, that we will already be in the great multitude standing before the throne. Now, that being stated, I know I've made videos on here that if you want to go through my videos and look for them, you can. I have talked about some of the extremely vivid dreams that I've had. I have had a very, very vivid dream of a nuclear explosion occurring. I was driving along with my kid in the car, and well, actually we were in a truck, but we're driving along. Nuclear explosion happens ahead of us. The truck pretty much dies. I take it down into a ditch. I climb into the back with my kid and I hold on to him. And then I wake up. My skin was hot, but I wake up from that dream. But it was extremely vivid. I can still see and picture where I was driving, the trees, the landscape, the explosion. On top of that, I've had another dream, and I made a video of it where I was told, you're out of time. So does that mean we are in the final week? The 70th week of, what is it, Daniel? Are we in that week? Because that one there, I was in my grandparents' kitchen. And I remember looking directly up at the clock on the wall. And I know exactly, it was one of those old cuckoo clocks. Very intricate, that had the pine cones that came down on the chains, the little bird that would come out, sitting on the wall. And then I looked at the hands, and as soon as I stated, we're out of time, that's when the explosion started to go off. Only thing is, it started as soon as the explosions started to go off, all the family went up. While I was like, we need to get down below, we need to hide, we need to get to safety. What does that mean? I don't know. Then, the third vision that not vision, but a third dream I had that was extremely vivid. And that dream was vivid as well, the one I just talked about. The next one I had was, it showed a scene here in the town that I currently live in, but where the missiles were striking. So I don't know what's going to happen. Maybe it's I read too much science fiction. I don't think it is that, and I won't doubt if it's something that's being given to me, because I don't have extremely vivid dreams. At least not very often. And the ones I do, sometimes it's it can be very shocking. Anyway, I know this video isn't probably the most comprehensive one. It's just, like I said, sometimes these are the things that happen in my life. I like to talk about them. It leads me to get into the Bible. I try to be in the Bible each and every day. Yeah. Sometimes it opens up my eyes. Sometimes I get the aha moments. And I will state that in this regard, that there's a lot of things going on in the world right now. And we very well could be the last, or the generation, that will see all these things happen. But otherwise, I'm going to leave this video at that. Thank you for watching. If you share my videos, I thank you for that. But I think we need to get out there and start spreading the word more and more. Spread it to your family, spread it to your friends, spread it to your neighbors. And it could just be something as simple as, have you ever gotten into the Bible? Would you like to sit there and discuss? Broach the subject somehow. I mean, I know a lot of people are nervous to do such things. They don't want their friends to not be their friends anymore. But I'm still working on one of my best friends. And not necessarily working on him, but just trying to plant the seed. Just so he gets a little curious, dips his toe in the water, and to see for himself, you know what? Maybe this is what I do need in my life. But anyway, y'all take care. Thank you for watching my videos. Hopefully they do help out in some way, shape, or form. And if so, please leave a like, leave a comment, and if you would like to, you can share them as well. So y'all take care.